Okay, Donta Stepeny, thank you so much for participating in this research project where we're mapping the history of education in Northeast Oklahoma. So tell me, when did you graduate from Douglas High School?
I graduated from Frederick A. Douglas, May 2002.
Okay, what was it like at Douglas during that time?
Basically, it was the time of when I was coming in. It was a real big culture of pride, as far as a sense of pride, I should say. We had everybody knew everybody. That's when that time is when the busing stopped, where we had to get transported back. We went back to neighborhood schools, and that was a time where it was I loved every bit of it because I seen both parts where we were diverse, and then I also seen the part where we was just strictly a neighborhood school. Everybody knew everybody. It was like a big family, you should say. The From the community wise, we had a lot of support, a lot from the businesses to churches, parents. We had a huge parent involvement here at Douglas. It was a lot of participation. It was a lot of activities. We had VoTech, cosmetology. We had woodwork. We had auto body. Everybody, it was something for everybody here. Even we had a high percentage of gaming involvement, but at the same time, it was something here for them where gang activities went in school and everything. You might have seen it outside, but in school it wasn't all that. They were basically here to get their education or get a trade or whatever, and they attended to themselves. But long story short, it was a big involvement from a lot of people. Pride and everybody was here as far as they knew the purpose of why they were here and everything.
So you said that busing was ending.
Mm-hmm.
I had a participant who graduated in 70.
Yes.
71.
Mm-hmm.
And he was saying that the busing was just starting.
Yes.
So the busing was something that occurred for like 3 decades?
Yes, because 98 is when we went back to neighborhood schools. That was the first year we went back to neighborhood schools, and we had so many kids. Also, that was a big deal too. Not an issue, but it was a big deal that we had a lot of kids here on the east side, from where you see I think it's a cancer center with the OU police department. Mm-hmm. They used to be the hugest apartment complex on the east side before they tore it down, and it became strictly OU, and they created the embassy suites and all that. But we had a huge population here on the east side. So yeah, 98 was the year. That was my freshman year. That was the year that they stopped busing.
Okay. So did you have experience both while Douglas was like getting bussed into and the neighborhood? Can you speak to both of those experiences?
Yeah, I can basically speak to both of those. We had Douglas was it's still predominantly black, but at the same time, we had a lot of kids that come from the south side. We had a lot of kids come from the northwest side, and so now you had different varieties of a lot of kids coming from different communities. When we went back to neighborhood schools, don't get me wrong, I did like it wasn't a problem for the other communities to be here, but I did love when we became a neighborhood school, because our friends were, they'd stay across the street, but they'd be going to another high school, so I loved every bit of it, because now we went from going to different schools to now being at the same school, and we played community football with each other, and now it's like bringing the family back together and everything. So.
And you talked a little bit about VoTech. VoTech's been coming up a lot.
Yes.
And how it was placed at Douglas. So can you talk to like the importance of that VoTech here the school?
VoTech was a big, I should say, the I want to say out of the compared to the arts and the other things that we had going, VoTech was the heart of the I should say the curriculum of the school, because I don't if I don't believe that there were a lot of absenteeism, high absenteeism. We had a lot of kids that were involved, and it was hands on. I just believe that that's the reason why a lot of kids kept coming to school, even in their life situations. Kids came to school. They wanted to be away from being at home, being in their communities, because they have to deal with that when they get it from school. This was the and then after school, they had activities. You can still work on cars, you can still build on your project, we had a print shop. You can still do cosmetology. So there was never a day that kids didn't go without a haircut or kids didn't have their hair done. So that's why I think it was much pride here, because people had the tools here at school, and so they utilized it.
That kind of reminds me like of Black Wall Street, how if any little thing you needed, you could go to people in your community to get it done.
Exactly. And then also I forgot about the home ec. Home ec done a lot of stuff. So we didn't really have to go outside of the school, because it was so if we needed food, home ec was the people that we went to provide food, like just for the football team. They used to cook for all the athletics, for, on game day and everything. So we had everything we needed here at the school.
So what are your thoughts and feelings about the school consolidations that are taking place in the district, and like this urban renewal that's kind of happening in the community?
I wish it would have happened earlier. I just wish it would have happened earlier when we had the kids here. I guess due to kids, the Eastside, I should say, due to the apartment complexes vanishing, that took a lot of population from the Eastside. The consolidation, I believe, is really needed now, based on that we don't have the population here that we had before, because I can think back then that all Oklahoma City schools, we went below, in sports, we went below 4A, and so we had 5A, 6A, 5A, and 4A. That was the lowest we had here, so if you look at Oklahoma City schools now, majority, if you base it on sports, it's only about 3 high schools that's 6A, and 5A. The other ones are 3A, 2A, and I believe that the consolidation, basically, from what I know right now, is a good thing as far as consolidating schools, because we do need the kids together, to understand. I should say that I'm trying to get let me see. I'm trying to put it in a way where the positive for it is that we don't have a lot of empty space. I should say we don't have a lot of empty space. But now, what do we do with the empty space that is not being used? So that's the only thing that I really have. I can see a big positive coming here on the East Side, with new things. I just wish it would have happened earlier, where people, people before me, my generation, it would have been a lot of benefit. We would have benefited from it. With the new things going on now. Mm-hmm. That's the only difference that I have now, that a lot of people have moved back. Now it's moved out. Now will it be hard for them to move back? That's the thing. That's the question that I have now, because now property values go up, and I see it's empty on 23rd now. It's real empty without I'm seeing a lot of things getting is vacant now. So it's open season now. So now what's gonna happen? The question is, for me, is now what's gonna happen now? I can see a lot of good things happening, but I can also see it can be a bad thing for people not being able to move back over here and everything. So
How do you see Douglas benefiting from what's happening in the community?
Douglas can benefit if the community, if we have our hands on it, Douglas can benefit big time from it. Especially with the alumni that we have and everything. Douglas can benefit big time. But if those business, if we get a lot of businesses and they're not invested into Douglas, I can see that being a big problem. Based on if the community is based on tax dollars. Are those where the tax dollars going? Are they benefiting? Are they going to another community or another school? Or they being benefit? As far as benefiting Douglas. Now, if those businesses are invested into Douglas, I can see us having kids have jobs. Their parents having jobs. I can see that hopefully kids could get internships. That's the benefits I can see. But the business have to be invested into the school also, and we also have to reach back out to those businesses to say, hey, we have this going. Would you be able to share your business? As far as what I mean by that, as far as if it's jobs that's available and you need employees, will their parents be able, or will the kids be able to apply for your jobs or anything like that? Or even, I would say not apply, but be able to work in your business and everything.
Yeah, so leading to like community empowerment for
Yes.
Sure. For sure. What's your relationship with Douglas now? I know you're a teacher.
Mm-hmm.
So what brought you back to Douglas as a teacher?
Oh man, it's a lot that brought me back. Before I became a teacher, I was doing I should say I worked for Langston Talent Search, and with Langston Talent Search, we basically used to come over and tutor kids that needed help in English or math or even science. And I believe, just the pride that I had, still have, not had, but still have within Douglas, and the belief that I have in Douglas, I would say it was meant for me to come back over here. I've been here for 10 years now. I just believe that it's a purpose that I'm here, and I can see that these kids really they help me out also. Not me helping them out, but they allow me to dig deeper what I need as far as what can I do to help them, to provide for them as a teacher. Being a career tech teacher, because I want them to understand that I want them to have a pathway as far as to help them develop their own success. Because success is different from other people, and I want them to have their own purpose. What do you think your purpose is? And I just think that I want them to understand the tradition that they have, the gold mine that they sitting on, because they have to understand that Douglas is a historical monument that they need to protect. And after generations that have, provided the way, we have to continue that legacy. We have to continue to build upon it, and that's the reason why I think I really came back due to the love and the pride that I have for this school.
So every person has talked about pride and legacy and tradition. What gives Douglas such a legacy and such a tradition?
Oof. This can go along. This could be its own story by itself.
That's what
what gives Douglas its own legacy, its own pride, is that it was the only thing that we had. It was, if you go back to history, think about 1891. That's when we was first founded. And through those years, all those people that struggled before, I don't see, as far as, yes, we struggle through life, but those people that didn't have the rights to read, didn't have the rights to go to another community, those people actually made what Douglas is, because they used their resources, they used everything that they had, they depended on each other, and it carried over, with FD Moon, me hearing stories about FD Moon, FD Moon was like the President Barack Obama, they say in Oklahoma. Hearing about, Willa Pitts, Willa Pitts was a person that I'm happy that I came in touch with. Douglas was the place that people wanted to go. When celebrities came here, Douglas, African American celebrities, politicians, they came to Douglas. This was the place where they actually came to break bread with people. Douglas was the where everybody wanted to either wanted to be in the band. They wanted to do something, and you had spectacular, amazing educators. With Demo Parks. With FD Moon, Page, and I can go on and on with it. You just had, and when busing came about, when I would say segregation, I should say, when segregation came about, it wasn't because they wanted, as far as the blacks to be with be with the whites, or the whites be with the blacks. It was based on they wanted our teachers. That's the first thing they came and got, is our teachers. Is based on what I heard from people that was in that era, is that they came and got the teachers first. When you look at it, all the teachers that were here back in those days, they were professors. They became professors. They became great people of Oklahoma. So of this world. So Douglas pride and tradition was built on through struggle, through people opening up opportunities for others like us to prosper, and it's just something that you can't create. It's something that you can't copy, and that's where a lot of kids have to understand that Douglas is the originator. If it weren't for Douglas, you won't have Millwood. You won't have Northeast. It's a lot of other schools that won't be around that's predominantly black. So I believe that that's where Douglas gets his pride and tradition from.
So you talk about such rich academics and stuff. Can you talk about like what the academic life was like for you when you were here?
Oh, it was the academics. Our teachers taught our parents. Majority of the teachers that taught us, they taught our parents. Or they either went to school with our parents or our grandparents. So the education here, they held us to high standards. There was no excuses. They made sure that we could compete with anybody outside of Douglas, where we wasn't scared to go if it was dealing with academics or anything like that. A lot of people talk about the sports, but they forget that, we had 4 merit scholars that come out of here at the same time. And the time that I was here, our teachers pushed us to the limit. They didn't teach out the book. They added more things that we can get our hands on. It was hands-on activities also. It was just wonderful. I never remember any of our teachers even being absent from school. They were always here. And they did extra. So that education here was wonderful for me.
How did seeing that foster how you teach now, how you are a teacher now at Douglas?
That it helped. It molded me and to let me know that it's no excuses. It's free. I take pride in to let them understand that you have to get it now. You know how it, and my whole deal is it's a lot of kids that don't get the opportunity, and it's my duty to make sure that these kids understand the value of education. I value education. That's why I'm always that's why I'm always pushing them, always making sure that they understand the standards, and that I should say that I push high standards, I push high expectations, and I think that is what fostered from the teachers that pushed me, because if it wasn't for them, maybe I wouldn't be back here teaching, or maybe I wouldn't have that sense of pride, or that sense of, I should say, making sure that my kids understand the high expectations that I'm giving them in academics, all right, as far as their education.
And why do you think it's so important to model such high expectations, especially dealing with the demographics that you deal with here, Douglas?
I'm gonna tell you why. If you look at statistics, we are we lead the nation in childhood trauma. We lead the nation in women incarceration. We number 2 in male incarceration. We number 3 in juvenile incarceration. And we number 5 in child abuse. All our kids deal with that. The only thing that we can is hope for that they understand and they get the valuable education to change the cycle that's going on right now. And and then be honest, that's what I actually teach is realistic things. As far as, yes, I do teach the career tech, but when things are like that or a headline that's in my face, I have to share that with them because that's what they deal with. And that's why it's very important that they understand and understand why they need an education. Education is basically not just going to school, but it's basically finding a way. What is going to be the way that I can break this cycle? You know, maybe you don't want to go to college there. You know, there's different other pathways, you know, that you can break the cycle where you're not tempted to be, you know, as far as having to sell drugs or having to follow the same cycle. You know, we have to educate not just based on what's in the books, but educate what's going on in this world, you know, what's going on in the community, what's going on as far as at home, you know, building relationship with kids. That's what education is about also, is building relationship with our students, because we sometimes assume that everything is all well. You know, we the teachers and they the students, they supposed to come to here just to learn and what we pour into them, but at the same time, let's listen to what they have. You know, that's what education is about, you know, teaching and learning, you know. So maybe they need to teach us something. How can we help them? Because they go deal with something that's the books can't even teach them, you know. So life skills, you know, they need those life skills to be able to cope with things they dealing with, you know. And I just believe that education is a tool that they can use, but at the same time, we have to build those relationships with our kids, and we also have to provide them with life skills so they are able to avoid those business in that same statistics that we got going on in Oklahoma.
Yeah, you unpacked a lot. It's interesting that you brought up how kids learn, because we do feel like education is this deposit model.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I'm going to deposit into you
Yes,
because I'm the one who knows everything,
exactly,
and you're the empty slate. But like you said, so the students around here, they come in with all these experiences
mm-hmm.
that shape how they know and learn things.
Mm-hmm.
And so it is the duty of the teacher to like bridge that gap.
Exactly.
How can you teach me so that I can better teach you and bridge the gap, and then go back and take this education to help better your community?
Exactly.
Yeah, so which I feel like standardization completely
Yes.
rids
Mm-hmm.
education of that. But can you talk about, like, so you grew up on the East Side, right?
Yes, ma'am.
What was the community like?
The community, where I grew up at, I'm gonna say the whole East Side.
Mm-hmm.
The East Side was rich, and what I mean by rich, we had a lot of people that were invested, and I mean from we had a lot of activities. We just think about all of the swimming pools that we had. We had a community. We had a lot of community centers. It was something to do. We had a lot of places. Like if we eating like all the schools around here, you can go to any school and get lunch. You can get breakfast. All right. The only thing that they didn't provide is dinner, but they had other places, that provided dinners for you. But you had grandparents. Grandparents were amazing. They involved us with in church activities. Then you if somebody wasn't eating at home, or you had a lot of friends over, grandma, grandfather would cook, aunties, uncles, everybody was involved, everybody was invested, you had kids running up and down the street. Now you don't see that, you see a few kids running up and down the street, but I can remember when, you had the different parts of the community where it was enough of us, we can form a football team versus another side, another street or anything like that. It was major, people riding bikes, kids having fun, even on Sundays, we had this thing called the strip. And the strip was, people had their cars and we'll post up on 23rd, and it was from Martin Luther King probably down to Kelly, I should say. But that's how many people were living here on the east side. But we had a great time. It was fun.
Yeah. Wow. So a lot of what's talked about is how like the historical trajectory of Douglas has changed so much,
Mm-hmm.
and it's been pushed further east. Can you kind of talk about that a little bit? Like, I know that you graduated in 2002, so
Mm-hmm.
you don't have experience with that, obviously, but do you know much about the history of Douglas as far as like its different locations and?
Oh, you talk about the school itself?
Mm-hmm.
This is what I can remember. I was just about to look this up too, because it's on the website, the different locations. And forgive me if I'm wrong on this. I can remember that Douglas used to be right across the street from, you can see it from the Devon Tower, where it's on California, I want to say. It's the statue where they got the horse on this. That's where the Douglas was right there.
Across from the baseball field.
Yes, exactly. And then Douglas was right there where the baseball field used to be. Then let me see. That's the two Douglases, because one of them burned down. Then they have to move. And then the Douglas that was on 4th Street, Northeast 4th Street, that's where everybody. That's where Douglas had his own swimming pool. Douglas had his own swimming pool. They had their own everything they needed. I'm making sure I'm not getting off track. And I'm going back to the question again.
Just what you know about like the different campuses.
Oh yeah, the different campuses. The only one that I really visited is the one that's on 4th Street, and they turned that into, it used to be called Page Woodson when I was coming up. That was actually Douglas. They called it Douglas on the Hill, and Douglas used to also be. Their colors used to be, I want to say, gold. We were gold, black and gold, and due to, I guess, the band's colors had they washed the uniforms and it changed to orange, and that's when Douglas became orange and black. And I want to say that the mascot used to be the ponies. I want to say before Trojans. That's just through a resource that I Mr. Pitts, Willard Pitts. He said we were the ponies, but then the school that I graduated from, which was, I want to say, the 5th school. I don't know what year they was built, but I know they tore it down in 2005. But we had our own swimming pool, and their Olympic swimming pool it was huge. You know, you had different quarters. You know, you had the art side. You had we had our own body shop. So we had a VoTech building also. We had a VoTech building where we had body shop inside, the woodwork, print shop. What else did we have? We had a cosmetology side too. Uh, we had we had major facilities such as we had a tennis court, four tennis courts. We had a softball field. We had a baseball field. The stadium is what we had the best. Like y'all talk about Taft, Douglas had the best stadium as far as because this is where the fairgrounds used to be. So we have the biggest as far as stadium. I just wish they would have invested into that. You know, as far as kept that historical. I know Maps was coming along. I just wish they would have kept Douglas in this. You know, remodeled it or something. You know, but kept the body of it. But Douglas was one of the best schools in Oklahoma.
How long has Douglas been in this specific building?
Since 2006.
Okay.
Yeah, 2006.
So there's all this talk about like potentially moving John Rex here, like middle school and things like that. Why do you think Douglas has been able to withstand such like consolidation or takeovers?
I'm gonna be honest. It's two things that I'm gonna say. Douglas is a blessed school. We are blessed, along with the alumni that we have. Douglas has faced many battles. You know, from what I heard, this was the location where Langston University was supposedly be. That's why I say F.D. Moon was a powerful person. You know, he's the one who actually got to build the Douglas that was tore down in 2005. I just think that the people that we have in place, the alumni, and the fight that we have is what has been the solution to as far as the problem of that has been the reason why we haven't been taken over or anything like that.
So people say Douglas is the pride of the Eastside.
Mm-hmm.
What does that mean? Why is that such a saying? Well known.
The pride of the East Side. If you understand the East Side is African Americans long ago. It was a certain. I want to say 4th Street. They could not go past. As years came along, the East Side became populated with African Americans. It wasn't number African Americans. And everybody, based on the tradition, based on the history of Douglas was the center of attention. Everybody wanted to be here. Even people cried because they couldn't go here because they were busing. That's why you had Millwood. When busing, people that graduated from Douglas, they did not want their kids being bused. So they decided to move to Wildwood, and I'm going to send my kids to Millwood where they don't have to be bused. But at the same time, the pride of the East Side came from, this is the only spot that African Americans had to go before busing. So this pride of the East Side was established way back then. People took pride in the school. You just couldn't talk about Douglas. You had to, in order to be on the academic team, in order to be on the football team, and you can go on and on, whatever organization, it was high expectations. Everybody took pride. You had to dress a certain way. You had to carry yourself in a certain way. So that's what the pride of the East Side. We just didn't step out just to step out. If we go do something, we go do it to our high expectations. So that's where pride of the East Side come from.
So if in 50 years someone comes back and they listen to these, what is something you would want Douglas to be remembered by?
I want Douglas I want Douglas to be remembered as a place of being original, a place, a, a place of legacy, a place of pride, a place where nobody can copy. It was a place that everybody wanted to, that we were the standard. We were the bar that everybody wanted to be. We set the tone. It's a place where you have to be here in order to understand the legacy that this school has a reputation for. But through it all, I just want them to understand that 1891 1891 is the key of why this is the special place.
Okay. So what changes have you seen in the education here at Douglas from the time you graduated in 2002 to the time when you returned as a teacher?
The changes that I have saw is that, and I'm gonna be blunt with this. The changes that I have saw is that Douglas has had a lot of teachers that took pride in their education, that as far as making sure that kids were learning to the highest capability. The changes is based on, I should say, the leadership. And what I mean by the leadership is things that Douglas couldn't control, as far as having people here that wasn't invested, and having people in this leadership position that wiped out a lot of tradition, as far as what and I'm not saying tradition, I should say people that were really invested, and I just believe that it could have still been what Douglas used to be, but due to people want certain changes, due to people not valuing Douglas, I just believe that sometimes, you see certain teachers that's invested, but when I was here, it was a whole. We never had any weak teacher. We never had a weak link. Sometimes now you probably get a weak link, that's here just for a paycheck. I just believe that the reason why I call Douglas a special place is that you have to be invested in order to make things, as far as for the kids to understand and get an education. You have to be that special person. You just can't just be anybody that just go come in here and not be invested, because it won't work. And that's what I see, that the difference as far as teachers. We had teachers that were invested as a collective. Now you only get a few, or a selected few, I should say, that are really invested. So that's the difference.
What was the impact on the education you received at Douglas, and how you took that into the world?
The impact, the impact that and you talk about as far as the teacher, the education that I received.
Yeah, like you talked about such high standards and things like that, and so eventually you left Douglas and went to college. So how did your time at Douglas and those high standards and the educative process at Douglas carry with you out into the real world?
That followed me a lot, because everything that I put, anytime that I'm, anything that I did, I don't care if it's fixing something. I did it with I always had high expectation. I want quality, and that's what they gave us. They want high quality. uh, through my college years, I it was times that I had to sacrifice to study. That's what they taught us. You sometimes you got to walk the road alone, and you have to carry yourself in a certain way, and it just put values in us. It put standards on us. As far as uh, I don't believe in failing. Well, I believe in failing, but at the same time, I don't believe in as far as giving up. I should say. Uh, and when you fail, you get right back up. Um, that's the purpose of as far as what I want for these kids. As far as to put, they have when you look at, we have to give these kids hope. We have to give them the tools and the resources, something that sticks with them that they can carry within them in their lives, that helps them to go forward, not to just be stagnated or go backwards. And that's what we got from, as far as we received from our teachers, is that they motivated us. They put positive things in us. They were never negative. They were hard on us, and what I mean by hard, they didn't let us slack. Even not the weakest person that probably was failing, they made sure that person was still getting an education. It was nobody left behind. So that's one thing that I believe uh, uh, that impacted me as far as to become the person who I am today.
How would you say the community has changed since? Do you still live on the east side?
Yes, I still leave her.
What changes do you see within the community now?
The changes that I see, is that I believe that the changes that I see is that I saw a lot of people, as far as even my classmates that moved out, that wanted to see the other side, and at the same time, we were living on a gold mine, and this is a gold mine. This is the center of Oklahoma City, and the changes that I have seen is that uh, it's been changing as far as it's becoming diverse. It's becoming diverse, and I see a lot of changes as far as things being built around us, that it's gonna be real hard to get back over here as far as living wise. Um, I just believe that uh, other people outside this community value this side of town, and we had it right in our hands. Just like this school, I pray that this school, that we hold on to this school, because I just see a big, this is something that everybody wants, but at the same time, it's something that can't be copied. It can't be, as far as uh, as far as taken away, I should say. It's just a special place, I believe. So that's the thing I seen that's changing the community, is that I see new things coming around, and I see different faces other than black. And so when I start seeing different faces, it it was a surprise, because you never seen it. I've been over here. I'm 37, and I never seen that before. It's I always seen a black. But as far as another face running in the community, or you know exercising in the community, or a group of them, it just like, okay, this community is changing. So that's why that's the change that I have seen.
Um, I guess with that changing community, are you scared for the future of Douglas?
Uh, I'm not. I'm not. And the reason why I'm not is because not only do I see changes, I see a lot of my classmates, a lot of people that's before me that graduated from Douglas, and we are still invested into Douglas. Uh, the the scary part that I can say is, if the only thing that I fear is that that we have a lot of support here, but they still try to, as far as take it from, just take it right in your face. Uh, that's the only thing that I really fear, not knowing and changing the history and eliminating the history of the school. That's why it's very imperative. That's why it's very important that we hold on to this, because this is something that, yeah, you might still have the name on here, but don't take the history away. Don't take away people that fought, that sweat, tears, and blood that was here. And I'm going on and on, because I can think of the civil rights leaders, that we had here, that graduated from here, that taught here, that marched for, to have equality. And at the same time, we can't erase that, because those people actually made and put a stamp here on Douglas. So that's the scary part, and I hope that it doesn't change and get into the wrong hands.
Right. Do you have anything else to add?
Yeah, I just want to clear everything up. If you have any, because we've been talking about perception, and perception comes from, what people have seen or heard, and I just want people to understand that Douglas, excuse me, is a special place, and I say special, and I keep saying it, is because it's a lot of gifts around here. It's a lot of I see a bright future for these young people, as far as changing the world, as far as changing this community. And Douglas is a place where the kids, they don't have it like other kids. They don't get to, they struggle a lot. But at the same time, with that struggle and putting value in them, that's firepower, as far as to something that we don't know what will come about that, and I mean in a positive way. So that's why I call Douglas a special place, and that's why you have to be a special person to even be invested or teach here. You just can't be anybody that just go come and say, I'm gonna just teach at Douglas. I hope that you understand that you have to be invested in order for the kids, because they deal with so much, and they know who's there for them, who's not, and they'll let you know. And that's why I call them my protectors, because they will let you know if you really invested in them.
Anything else?
Oh, that's it.
Okay, well, thank you so much for participating in this study. And if you think of something else, or if you want to speak more on the subject, we can set this all up again.
I definitely would. And Ms. Brown, thank you.
No problem. So what were you saying?
This is what I really wanted to let people know. Frederick A. Douglass is the community of the Eastside.
What do you mean by that?
What I mean by that, the more I think about it, the more I talk through the interview, everything as far as came from Douglas. The pride of the East Side, yes, we, as far as pride in the school, but that pride carried outside of the school, where we invested in different things as far as to make sure that Douglas still progressed. With me being invested by my teachers, and myself coming back to invest into the next generation, and everything that I the more I think about it, Douglas was the community, as far as where people got to go, and do things, and to go out in this world to better themselves, So that's what I mean by Douglas being, is the community.